everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we are going to talk house maintenance. Yes, I know it's everybody's favorite topic come springtime. So let's dive into what does home maintenance mean when it comes to your budget. There is a general rule of thumb out there, normally sits at 1 to 2% of your house value should be set aside for home repairs. Now, if you have an older home, they do suggest even moving that up to 3 to 4%. But how do you know that that'll actually work for your house? Because remember, that's a rule of thumb, which means it considers everything from the very new built house to the century plus houses that require a lot of maintenance and repairs because they are not up to code, not modernized as much. I know I've had houses for quite a while now. Up until this house and getting really into budgeting, didn't know or even set aside maintenance properly for my house. I dove into that, and here's how I think we should be looking at home maintenance. The first thing you do is do a tour of your own home with pen and paper and go through room by room, including the outside, and mark down absolutely everything that you want to do in that particular room. For example, here I'm in a spare bedroom that doubles as my office and studio, and so I would walk around here. Am I happy with the paint color? Do I need to look at my windows over there, make sure that they fit right? The screens are okay. Do I need to do anything with the lighting? Are doors set up properly? They're not getting stuck. And I'm going to write down absolutely everything in that room. Now it's going to look a little bit long, but don't worry, we have a plan for that. So you'll do that in every single room of your house, including the furnace room if you have one, or anything like that. And I want you to look at your appliances: washer, dryer, fridge, stove, hot water tank, furnace. Don't forget the outside, looking at your fence, your roof. If you have a driveway that is there, any patio, you're gonna go do those as well. Okay, so you got your list? Great. In conjunction with that list, what you need to have is a list of all of the maintenance that you need to do in your house. There are a ton of places where you can get home checkup lists. Now, one of the things you'll want to look at is make sure that it covers everything, especially if you live in different types of climate. I live in a cold climate, cold but dry. May have different requirements than maybe somebody down in Arizona where it's hot and dry. So go through, find the home maintenance list, make sure you've covered everything. Once you have that, you're going to put that into a spreadsheet. Okay, here we are again in our spreadsheet. And the first place I did is I took various lists that I found for home maintenance on the internet and I moved it into this spreadsheet. So it tells me how my annual costs, and I put the capital costs on the other side. So it took all those things, and it's not broken out by room here, but I can look at the various rooms and then fit them into what these different big topics are, because the one I used based it off of the type of repairs that needed to be done. Now from that, I created some additional tabs here. So this was just a guideline for me, and I'm going to use this in addition to my list that I have for all of my rooms to figure out what my costs are for my house specifically. So when I look at this, I then broke it down into annual cost, small projects, appliances, and big projects. And you can see that what I'm looking at is a monthly cost of about $1,300 a month. Total annual 15. I estimated, a house value of $375, which puts me at 4% of my house value. So what makes this up? So let's go look at my annual costs. Now my annual costs are all of those annual things, annual monthly, semi-monthly, seasonal items that I need to do. Some are free, some are not. But the nice thing is this also doubles as a plan, so I could put this into my calendar to say, hey, this is when I want to do these various things. So for example, we've got here, check faucets. So I'm going to check my faucets when it's time. It doesn't cost me anything. So I didn't put a target month on this, but let's say I'm going to do that in April. And let's say I'm going to do all of these first few things in April as part of Easter or whatever I need to do. These are the ones that don't cost me any money. Then I'm going to come into June. I'm going to do weather stripping. Now I'm going to set $50 aside for weather stripping. I don't know if it's going to cost that much, but if I do, weather stripping is normally something I can do by myself. And I know the material's not that expensive. And that's why I put $50. If you have to hire somebody, you're going to put more in there. Filling the cracks and holes, that's on the external in my foundation. I'm going to put $100. Again, you're going to have to judge for your own individual house here. Power wash, we have all of our own material for power washing. Lubricating the doors, that's buying the material I need, the oils, the appropriate oils for lubricating the house, the doors. And I continue to do that. So for example, in my house, I have a wood burning fireplace. I need to put some chimney maintenance in. I looked back, $165 when I'm going to do that. And so I continue to go along. And when I look at that, my total amount is $1,700 for the year. And then if I broke that out in a monthly cost starting in April over the cost of a year, that's $142.92. Now the key thing to look at here is I'm coming into gardening season, for example, and I'm going to need $500. Now a lot of my gardening costs are up front, so I may have to adjust how much I put in here for gardening, or maybe I move some of these other costs and do gardening first and then the other ones go later in the year. So make sure you're adjusting for that. But this gives you an overall view of that's probably what it's going to cost me for a year, is about $142, give or take, for all these maintenance items. Now, the next thing I do, and this is where that list comes in really handy that you went in through your house, is I called these small projects. So these are smaller projects that I can do that don't cost a lot of money, that will both maintain the value of my house, but also could fix something that's wrong with it. So for example, in master bedroom, we want to do a closet upgrade. We're going to buy materials and do it ourselves. So we think the materials we're going to need are about $500. And then patio, we have lights out there that we need to replace. I'm going to say that's $100. Paint, I'm going to paint a kid's bedroom and a living room. Let's say I'm going to put in a smart thermostat. I have an older thermostat. I'm going to put in a new one. Again, this is going to be about $1,100. So over the course of a year, that's $184.43. So the big thing here that you can use is taking the cost of when you want to do it. So I need my living room thermostat. I'm going to do that in October. It's going to cost me $200 to save that up. I only have 6 months left. So I'm going to buy that by 6. And that means I have to save $33.33. So this one is a little bit more about when do I want to do it? How much is it going to cost? How much time is between now and then that I need to set aside for this amount? And you're going to do that for all those little projects you have, and that'll give you that amount. Now the next thing I did is we take the appliances, because appliances I think sometimes get forgotten. I just put a couple examples in here. Let's say I want to replace my washer dryer. Most times you're going to replace those together. It's $1,000 each, and I have 60 months or 5 years. I need to start setting aside $1,667 for the washers and dryer. And the same thing, I would go through my other ones, my refrigerator, my dishwasher, stove, microwave, and any other larger appliances that you need to fix for your house. This is where I think a lot of the value comes from now that we've moved here, between the annual cost, your small projects, your appliances, is instead of just this bulk 1%, 2, 3, 4% in there, I now have a very good idea of what it is within that fund that I'm using that money for. And then I don't feel like I'm double counting or, confused about what I'm going to do. Now, big projects are big projects. Big projects are those big renovations, or I've got on here my roof replacement or my garage floor I need to redo, and it's going to be a larger amount of money. That will be up to you to decide how much. These are the ones that, I think get included in that 1 to 4%, and then we're not sure, and we sacrifice others' projects. So for example, I said my kitchen renovation, I want to do that in February 2025, which is 3 years from now. I think it's going to cost $25,000. So that means I need to set aside $694 a month in order to do that. Same thing with my roof replacement and then my garage floor. So this is where it's really key when you're going through that list that we did. Look at what is the age of my roof now. Come back to that maintenance and we go look at a roof and replacing shingles. That's that 20 to 30 years. So how old is your roof? What's that reasonable timeline? If your roof is brand new, then maybe you don't need to replace it for another 20 years. If it's an older roof, you might need to be starting to set aside more money now to have it repaired in a timely manner. Okay, so then you're going to come back and then this will give us that maintenance cost, and it'll give you a much better sense how much do you need to set aside. So $1,300, but that includes those big projects. So maybe you need to defer the big project, make the budget a little bit smaller. Maybe it's not a $25,000 kitchen reno, maybe it's a $10,000 reno. So these are the things that you can do, but you now have a much better sense. And then in your monthly budget, all you need to include is this line of monthly maintenance and then setting aside whatever that dollar value is. And there you have it. That is how you can go through and make a home maintenance budget for your home so that you know that you have a safe and functional home for you and your family. It also then gives you that better peace of mind to say, hey, yes, I know that I have a plan, I can execute that plan, and I have the money set aside, the home I want it to be. So if you want to learn more about budgeting, don't forget to check out this video on the emergency fund.